let's look at what a test is. So, here's what it looks like. I'm actually just going to walk through it versus just trying to tell you what it is. So let's just make one. I'm going to go into our handlers. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it __ tests __. Why did I call it that? That's one of the default folder names that Jest looks for, so I called it that. I think you can also just call it tests, maybe even specs. So many different names that it looks for. I just don't remember which one you have to tell it to versus which ones are the defaults anymore. I just know for sure that this is a default one that it looks for, so I'm calling it that. You may also just want to put all your tests on the root somewhere and just have all your tests there versus having your tests live next to what you're testing. My mood changes a lot. Today I feel like putting the tests near where the things that I'm testing, so I don't have to write long import statements. That's literally the only reason. Otherwise, I might put them all down here. I don't know. I just don't feel like writing long .. // stuff today, so I'm not doing it. Okay, so let's write a test for, I don't know, users. Let's do that. So I'll say user.test.ts. And those icons are pretty dope. I like those icons. So in the flavor of, did Mocha come before Jasmine? It's been so long I can't remember. I think Mocha came before Jasmine. Or maybe Jasmine came first. I don't know. In the flavor of Mocha or Jasmine, Jest has adopted this really cool syntax that we in the JavaScript community have come to love when it comes to testing. And the way it looks is something like this. So you can say describe, and you should, and these will all be globals because we're going to be running the test in the context of the Jest environment. So in that Jest environment are going to inject these functions that we're using globally. So we don't have to import any of this stuff that we're using. They're going to be given to us at runtime. They're going to be injected into the code. So describe is just an organizational function you can use to describe, like, I don't know, think of it like the module that you're testing, maybe the file that you're testing. In this case, we're testing like the user handler. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. And then I can give it a callback function. And then for each thing that I want to test, I mean, I can even add more describe here if I want to, but I don't have to. But for each thing that I want to test, I can either do something called like it, not like the clown, but like the word, or I can do something like test. I'm just going to say it. And the reason I say it because it just reads better. So usually it goes something like this. You can say it should do something when something happens, right? You would put a description like that. Whatever it is, that the thing that you're about to test right now, the specific condition of what it is you're about to test, that's what you would write. This doesn't functionally change anything about the test, but when you visually see it in the output, you'll know what test failed or what passed based off of these descriptions and these blocks here. So try to actually put some intention in those words. And you put a callback here. And then I can use this built-in really cool function called expect, and I can say, I can write my assertions. I can say, oh, I expect 1 to be 1. Right? 1 is 1, so this should pass. So now, to actually run this test, we just need to tell Jest to do it. So I'm going to go into package.json. We got this test script here. I'm going to get rid of all of its contents, and I'm just going to say Jest. Okay. And then to run the test, I can just say npm test. And just like that, Jest went and found the test because of the folder name that I created. You can see it's pointing to the file here. User handler is what I put in the describe block. So this is what I said, it's just for organizing. And then here is the actual assertion that I ran. And the green check just means that it passed. The word pass means I passed. And here's just more information about all the tests that I ran. I ran one test suite. A suite is basically a describe block. And then each time there was an it function, that's a test. So I ran one suite with one test, and they all passed. Right? So an example of a failing test would be something like, Oh, well, I expect that to be 2. Okay, well, that's not 2. That's 1, right? And it'll tell you. It'll say, oh, user handler should do something when something happens. We received this thing in red, which was a 1, but we expected it to be 2. So those things don't work. 1 is not 2, so it failed. Any questions on the unit test?
So you had just typed Jest in the terminal?
If you go to your terminal and type in Jest, you'll probably get an error.
Oh, okay. So where did you do that?
Oh yeah, good question. So actually, this brings up a really good point. If you install a CLI into your application, just like we did, Jest is a CLI,
Okay.
but we installed it locally into our project. We didn't install it globally onto our computer, so we can't actually just type in Jest like this because we didn't globally install it. We locally installed it, so we would have to do something like node modules, right? We have to do that. I think I talked about it earlier in the course. So if you want to actually use it, the package JSON is really smart. So I added it here in scripts test, and npm is actually smart to know that, like, oh, if you have Jest installed locally in here, which we do, it'll use the local one. But if you don't, it'll use the global one. Whereas the terminal is not that smart. Your terminal is not going to know that you have something called Jest installed in this project. It's actually looking on the root of your computer for it in the bin folder. So it won't work here. So unless you install it globally. So yeah, you can just run, you can put it here, and then you can just say npm test. Fun fact, test and start are the only commands in npm that you don't have to put the word run in front of. Every other command you got to put like npm run dev or npm run whatever, but not test and start. You can just say npm test, npm start. I don't know. Somebody made that up.